Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Teresa. This is Lost My Thread. Today I'm going to be talking about everything I made in the month of September. Now I do have only one genuine finished project to show you guys today. I did also finish one of my wrap dresses, but that is not going to be revealed until the Clash the Patterns video comes out. If you guys haven't seen that, I'll put a link up here in the description box. I've been comparing 3 different knit wrap dress patterns. And the thing that I did finish though, I'm really excited about. It is one of my favorite things that I've made. It's definitely my highlight of the year, I think, for me so far, and might well be just one of my favorites in general. It is this dress. So this is the Matilda dress. It's a Megan Nielsen pattern, also called Matilda shirt dress. It's a really beautiful shirt dress pattern. I have made it before, but it's been a while. One of my goals for 2023 was to revisit an old pattern that I hadn't made in a long time, and this dress is what I decided to go for. This was actually my first indie pattern that I ever purchased. It was my first PDF pattern, and I made a couple of them a couple of years ago, or a good few years ago now. And when I made them, I loved them, and I do wear those 2 dresses all the time. And I felt like it would be nice just to make that old one again. I had positive memories of making it. It was similar to how I remembered, but it was a little bit different. I definitely forgot what a whole project this one is. This is a pattern that has a ton of pieces, and that's because there are so many beautiful design details. You're not going to get that without all those pieces, and it did give me a bit of room to play around with my fabric as well. So this fabric is like a really beautiful grid design. It's like a check. This is actually a linen fabric that I got from Merchant and Mills. Love this fabric so much. Love the colors, love the general just texture. There's a bounciness to Merchant & Mills linen that I really do love. And because I had this check design, I was able to play around and have it at the bias at certain points. So I did that at the back yoke and the front yoke. I also did that on the pockets as well, and then on the edge of the pocket here. So there's a little piece that folds over the pocket on the front of the skirt. And the rest of it I went with on grain. I didn't necessarily go crazy about lining things up at the sides because this is actually an angled edge, so there's no way it was going to line up anyway. But I did make sure that everything was lined up in general going across the front of it because I wanted all those stripes to line up. But on the whole, it was a nice one to just think about as I was cutting out and make some decisions. And even though there were a lot of pieces, it was such a satisfying construction. Like I said, great instructions, it comes together really well, and it's one of those patterns where I really appreciate you're doing little bit by little bit. So you're making a pocket and putting it onto the skirt. You're then completing the skirt and you're like, okay, I've done a thing. And then you move on to the pocket that's gonna go onto the breast, and you make the pocket flap, you put it on, and you're like, great, I finished something. So it's a lot of little achievements, and so it's a really fun and satisfying one to make. The collar as well, I was really impressed with how well it went in. I feel like I've made more indie patterns, well, I've definitely made a lot more indie patterns since I made this one, and so I was even more impressed with the quality of this one, both the pattern and the instructions. But in general, like I said, it was just a really fun one to put together. I am really pleased with all those design details that I went for. So obviously cutting pieces out at different directions, but also the buttons that I picked. So these buttons came from Ethel and Joan. They're an absolutely gorgeous resin button, and hopefully you can see that texture on there. What I really love about Ethel and Joan buttons is she uses actual vintage buttons to create like a mold that she then puts the resin into. So you have a vintagey looking design, but with more of a modern coloring. This color is just so perfect for it. I was so excited when I saw it. I was like, hey, this is definitely the button for this dress. They are bigger buttons than they are meant to be, but I feel like they're a feature and I appreciate the feature. I also wanted to have a matching color for the breast pocket. I realized that there was going to be some smaller buttons needed for that. So I emailed Louise, who's Ethel and Joan, who owns Ethel and Joan, I should say, and she very kindly sent me the little 2 breast pocket ones without charging me, which is so sweet. She's the loveliest person, honestly. She's from Pattern Pals. If you guys remember Pattern Pals, I was a massive Pattern Pals fan. But the buttons for the breast pocket are just even sweeter. I mean, the whole pocket in general is adorable. I really do love this box pleat design on the pocket, and the little button on there just is the icing on the cake. I feel like it is just so perfect. I also decided to put a label into this one. I don't put labels in everything, but I thought to do it. This is actually a burrito method closure of the yoke, so it's a nice enclosed back yoke. I should say the finishing details on this one are fantastic. There are quite a few elements where they suggest hand sewing, which I did do, and I just feel like it comes together really nicely. The collar itself though, when I was stitching that in, I decided to stick in this little label here. So this is a Intensely Distracted label, one of my favorite label brands. This is cotton, so it's not scratchy and it's gonna wear well. So it has Mindful Wardrobe on the front, and then on the back, hopefully you can see that, wear more, wash less, mend, no, hang on. I'm trying to read it, but it's backwards on my screen. Wear more, waste less, wash when needed, which I love. So I felt like it was a good one for it because it was something that I spent quite a bit of time. I feel like it was a mindful make. I took my time with it and I am just so happy with how it turned out. I know that these are really fantastic colors for me to wear, so I feel pretty wonderful in it. But just the design, the aesthetic of it, it's just, it feels really me and it feels really beautiful. This version has sleeves. So the original version that I bought didn't come with sleeves, but they did an expansion where they included sleeves on there. And one of my friends kindly sent me the sleeves because I wasn't given the original sleeve pack because I got the paper. I said I got a PDF. It's not true. I got a paper pattern of this one, not knowing enough about indie when I bought it. The short sleeve, I feel like it is a really cute detail, but I shortened it significantly by 3 inches. I felt like it was just a bit long for my liking. And they also have a very long cuff. No, it's not a cuff, a hem at the bottom of the sleeve that you can then fold up and stitch down if you want to have permanent cuffs, which I feel like suits the design really well. And so I'm really pleased with how that looks. Honestly, guys, really love this dress. It's one of my favorites and it was a big highlight of September. I have been loving wearing it and I know that I'm going to wear this one an absolute ton. It pairs really well with a lot of the other clothes that I wear, like cardigans and jumpers, because again, it's colors that I feel like really suit me. I really do wear these colors a lot. So I have a couple of Marlowe sweaters that pair really well with it, and it was nice just to have an extra addition. Definitely a perfect one for the fall wardrobe, but this one I could see wearing very much in the spring and summer equally. I then have some tops to show you guys, which are technically finished, completed tops, but the project is not complete. So to me, it doesn't feel complete, and I'm not going to show you pictures of me in these, but I do want to show them to you. The first one is this top. This is the Gable top by Jennifer Lauren Handmade. This is my second version of this top. I don't know what took me so long to make another, honestly. I love the first one that I made. It's got a really good fit. It's got different cup sizes. Really pleased with that one. This is a cotton rib knit fabric. So as you can see, it's got the nice ribs there. It's nice and stretchy. I originally ordered this with the intention of making a tank top, but when it arrived, it was a bit thicker and warmer than I was anticipating, and I felt like this would actually make a super cozy long sleeve winter shirt. However, I didn't buy enough fabric for the intention of making a long sleeve shirt. So I did manage to make it work by piecing together this sleeve. So this top has a version where there's a cuff. It's got a long cuff that goes from about 3/4 down the sleeve, but I didn't have enough fabric for that whole cuff either. But I just pieced together the shorter, a little shorter section onto my 3/4 length sleeve essentially, which I feel like looks intentional. I think it turned out really well. I think it looks quite cool. And this is a bright, crisp white. I've got a label on the back here. I know this is one that you need to know the front and the back. Slow Fashion, again, Intensely Distracted. I think these are all Intensely Distracted labels. I'll put a link down below to their shop if you guys aren't familiar with them. Really great indie label designer based in the US, but they have really reasonable and quick shipping internationally as well. No affiliation, I just really do love their labels. But yeah, so this is a really crisp, bright white, which is very much not my kind of thing. I feel like it's kind of almost blinding when I put it on. It's like, whoa. I tried these tops on for my husband to show them what they were looking like. All 3 of these, you'll see they're all crisp, bright white. And his first reaction was like, wow, that's really white. I know it's white. That's kind of, we're in the interim. So the reason I was making all these white tops and the reason I made this and it's not finished is because I'm planning to dye it. So I did mention in my autumn sewing plans that I'm planning to do some avocado dyeing. And I actually had plans to do more than just what I talked about. So this top is one of those things. So it's a cotton jersey fabric. I did all of the visible stitching, any top stitching with cotton thread so that it should dye as well. And I feel like it should be a beautiful top. I really do love the top as it is now, but it's definitely not something that I would be wearing as it is. It needs to be dyed for me to be able to wear it. The next one is my Peppermint Wrap top. So I'm wearing a Peppermint Wrap top today because it is the first version I made of this one and I definitely needed to make another one. So this is not really going to be very easy to show you what it looks like, but trust me guys, it's the same top that I'm wearing, but this one is in a white cotton double gauze fabric. I should say the cotton rib knit I got from Fabric Godmother, this came from Sew Me Sunshine. It's, like I said, so difficult to show you what this looks like, but just trust me when I say that it's a beautiful top, and it worked really well in the cotton double gauze. It sewed up really nicely. It was a lovely one to make. This one is made entirely with French seams, so it is just as beautiful on the inside as it is on the outside. Very satisfying. I put another label on this one just because I felt like I had to, really. I was on a roll with these. So that one just says, "Remember to love yourself," which I think is lovely. Again, it's a cotton label, and part of the reason I wanted to put labels in these is because I'm dyeing them. I'm using cotton labels that will dye the same color as the fabric, which I think will be just really fun detail. I have made that top before, like I said, really do like the top as it is, but I'm particularly excited to see what it looks like in the eventual color that it's gonna have. The third top is this Lemont top. This is an itch to stitch top, new to me. It's a very different design, and I will say, you can see my stitching. So I was debating what color stitching to do with this one because I was going to be overlocking the inside, and I am aware that cotton double gauze, I wouldn't say that it's sheer, but it's not fully opaque. You can see through it a little bit. And I know that I'm going to be dyeing this with the avocados, and it will be like a kind of pinky browny shade of some degree. And so I didn't really want to sew it with white overlocker threads because I didn't want that to be too contrasty against the color that it eventually becomes. But right now when it's white, I feel like you can just about see that pink coming through. So basically my options were pink or white. That's what I had that I thought would work. I went for the pink because I felt like it would be better for later. But yeah, I can see, I don't know if it's gonna come across on camera, maybe not, hopefully not, but I can see that pink coming through, but it'll be fine in the end, trust me guys. But yeah, this is a really unusual design, so different. What is really cool about it, it has princess seams that go down the front and the back, and there is a piece that attaches on that's just like one big sleeve. It's a dolman sleeve that has some gathers here at the shoulder. I don't think, yeah, there's a slight gather into the cuff, but I don't think any real significant gather. It was a really surprisingly quick one to put together and a really cool one to put together. I always enjoy when I have a really strange pattern piece, and this one was definitely very unusual looking. I will say that there was also a really good detailed instruction about how to grade out at the hip. So I'm somebody who typically, if I'm going to have something fit me in the high bust, need to grade out at the waist and at the hip. And rather than grading between sizes for this one, because the pieces themselves are such a bizarre shape, you wouldn't really know what to do. I certainly wouldn't know what to do. And so I followed the instructions, and essentially I just graded outward at the hip. So I just changed the angle of this to make it more out. And I was just trusting that it was gonna work well. I trust the instructions. They had a whole section telling you exactly what to do, and it worked beautifully. And I am really pleased with the fit on this one. I think it is so lovely. It's a really beautiful feminine shape. Like I said, you're gonna get some pictures when it's dyed, because I feel like if you see this on me right now, you just really don't get the right impression. I think it looks really not great at the moment in the bright white because it's just really not a good color for me to wear, but it is gonna be really beautiful. Again, I put a label in there, Intensely Distracted label. Whoops. I was made for you, because definitely I feel like with the specific sizing I had going out at the hip, it felt very much for me, and it will make me happy to see that in there. Again, another cotton label that's going to dye with this. And again, all this top stitching is all cotton thread, so it should all dye really well. So I'm sorry that I can't show you the full finished tops as yet, but that's something to look forward to, something I'm looking forward to once I get them dyed up. The other fully unfinished one that I can show you guys where it is today, but I can't show you the finished thing, is this. This is the start of a rope bag. So this is rope. I want to say it's rope. It's, what are we calling it? I'm going to call it yarn. But this is 100% cotton, and I've been stitching it all together to create a bag. I'm using a tutorial from the Closet Core Patterns website. I will say I looked at a variety of sources. I'm also using some elements from a Seamwork tutorial about making these. If you're not familiar, it's essentially just you take pieces of rope and you kind of wrap it around itself and do zigzag stitches to join it together, and that creates essentially like a fabric. And as it gets bigger, you can alter the shape depending on the angle. I think it's going to be really cool. My intention and my hope with this one was to make a bag. I was going to make a bag that I was going to also dye with the avocado dye, but I was going to do like an ombre effect so that it was darker at the bottom and got lighter as it went up. So I was going to be, you know, like gradually like dipping, probably starting dipped and then pulling the bag gradually out to get that ombre look on it, which I think will be really fun. I will say I struggled to find the right kind of thread for this or yarn for this, rope for this. When I've looked at tutorials, I've seen people talk about using clothesline rope, which sounded great, sounded easy. People were getting it like the DIY shop. I went to go buy some of this stuff, and in the UK, all the washing line rope, it's a lot more functional. It's not just cotton. It is usually got a wire, it's got some kind of like coating over the top so that it can withstand all the rain. So I don't know if it's just that these are outdated blogs and outdated tutorials, or if it's just what's available to me easily in the UK. I did actually order on Amazon some clothesline rope, thinking, okay, I'll just get what everyone else is using, cotton clothesline rope. But it came, the one that came had this really weird smell to it. I think it was like a factory kind of smell, but it was really unpleasant and I couldn't get rid of it. I even tried soaking it in tea tree and in vinegar, and it's still like, it didn't come out. And then I was getting a little worried about the pH of the dye. Am I messing things up? Anyway, that is gone because it is not working for me. And what I ended up buying was macrame yarn. So it's a recycled yarn. I got it from Hobbycraft. It's 100% cotton. The only thing I will say with this is I don't think it is ideal. It's a fairly loose weave, so I'm going to show you a little bit of the yarn. Hopefully you can get the impression. But it is a bit loose, so I can kind of bunch it up and it opens out quite easily. So it doesn't hold itself tight in the way that I think that these bags are supposed to. But I was able to just tighten everything together by, if I found any gaps, I would just do some extra zigzags over the top. So the bag itself, I feel like the fabric itself has all come together quite well. So I think it has worked out despite the fact that it's not the ideal yarn. Or it is yarn, yeah. I'm calling it rope yarn, whatever. You get the idea. It's some cotton fibers that have been joined together. So I did actually hope and plan to finish this up. I will say the zigzag on this, I decided to use polyester thread, because when I've seen the versions before, when you can see the zigzag, I actually really like seeing the zigzag. And sometimes if you have to cover over an area, you stitch over it again, or you might back stitch occasionally, creating a really cool texture with the thread on top. And I really wanted to maintain that. So I didn't want to use the cotton thread that was just going to take the color of the dye. I went with white, so I think it is going to hopefully be popping in a cool way. That is my intention anyway. But you sure do get through a lot of thread. I can show you today where I got to now, but actually at the end of September, I hadn't gotten as far. I basically got as far as using one bobbin full of thread. So I'll put a picture up so you can see where I got to. That's one bobbin. And I did another bobbin, which is what got me to here. And I decided that I needed to pause on this project, which means I need to pause on all of my avocado dyeing, because what I wanted to do is have everything all finished and do all the dyeing at once. I'm going to make one big dye bath rather than doing it in multiple different sessions. But I am not able to be doing any of this particular bag at the moment, which also relates to why I haven't been doing any hand sewing or any knitting. I went to see a physiotherapist at the beginning of this week because I was having a lot of pain in my hand, in my pinky and ring finger down into my wrist on my right hand, and I'm right-handed. And they have said that I have ulnar nerve tension. So the ulnar nerve is like your funny bone, but everything's all connected. So it's all connected to the hand and the wrist. It goes up into the shoulder. It's kind of similar to carpal tunnel, but carpal tunnel tends to be the other fingers. You don't need all the details, but the reason I'm telling you guys is basically I've been having a lot of issues with pain in my hand and in my wrist when I do certain activities. And it's not totally clear to me which things are going to be painful. I do something, it's really extremely painful, and I stop doing it and I go, right, okay, apparently this is something that I can't do. I sew a lot, I knit, I do all these things, and it brings me a lot of joy, and I was really hoping that I would still be able to sew. And in general, sewing on my sewing machine has been fine. I've not had any pain, it hasn't caused me any issues, which is great. Cutting out with a rotary cutter, the pressure of the rotary cutter is really painful. Cannot do that. But using scissors, dressmaking shears, I was able to do that without any pain, so that's nice. So I can definitely still keep sewing, which is wonderful. But when I was sewing this bag this morning, trying to pull that rope just to keep it all in line as I was stitching along the zigzag, that was causing me pain in my hand, and I can't be causing any more pain in my hand. I need to be getting better, not worse. So unfortunately, this bag is on pause. Hand sewing and knitting are definitely big no-nos. Anything that kind of cramps my hand up, squeezing, pressure, lifting, these kinds of things are very much a write-off for me at the moment. So life is a little bit of a challenge in ways, but like I said, I'm glad that I can still sew because that is really nice. And my day-to-day is basically fine. I'm currently on admin at work because I'm not able to do a lot of the physical things. I can't handwrite without pain, so it's fine. We're gonna get by. But it is definitely impacting on my creativity. And like I said, I was really hoping to get this bag finished up so I could dye all of these projects. It's gonna have to wait. I've been told it takes 6 to 12 weeks to heal up. I am still in the first week, so I've still got a little way to go. The hope is, because I saw the physios pretty early, that it's gonna be sooner rather than later, but I'm gonna finish these projects when I can finish these projects. In the meantime, I'll be working on what I can work on. So even though there were not a ton of fully finished projects to show you guys, I definitely have gotten a fair bit done. I will say October has been a bumper month of sewing for me, so you guys can look forward to a ton of things I'm going to be showing you next month that I will have finished. If you are somebody who has had to put any projects aside because of health issues, personal issues, just things going on in your life, let me know. Let me know if you have finally gotten back to those projects and if they were extra satisfying. I'm certainly hoping that when I'm able to finish these things up, it will be all the more exciting to do them because I've been looking forward to them. Please do give me a like if you enjoyed my video today. Make sure you are subscribed to my channel if you are not already, and I'll see you guys very soon. Bye!